Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Sfiso Mahlangu. I'm a candidate attorney at the Unisa Law Clinic in the Middleburg branch. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be taking you through or explaining to you what is a will and how is it important. We are doing this as we are nearing towards the National Wills Week, which is usually held in September all the time, every year. So we want you to have an idea or a knowledge of why you actually need a will, so that you guys can participate and ensure that you have your wills drafted when the time comes. Ladies and gentlemen, what is a will? I'll first start by giving you the definition that is provided in the Wills Act, which is number 7 of 1953. The Wills Act defines a will as including a codicil and any other testamentary writing. We know the definition can be somewhat difficult for a layperson to understand. I'll try to break it down in simple terms as to what is a will. Ladies and gentlemen, a will is a written document wherein a person sets out what must happen to their estate should they die, or when they die, because it's an event that's coming in. What must happen to their estate when they die. Ladies and gentlemen, there are other provisions that a person can make apart from the one of what must happen to their estate. A person can go further to nominate an executor of the estate, or make provisions of how they would like to be buried. For an example, a person can go as far as to make that provision in a will. Maybe a person would like to be cremated and not buried, and such provision may be made in a will. So basically, when you are making a will, I want us to underline the word written document. You have to write it. You are not making a will if you sit down under a tree with your kids, your descendants and everyone, and then you tell them, oh, you are going to have this ox, you are going to have this gold 7, you are going to have this, because that is going to open up to a lot of disputes when you leave. We don't have paper-based evidence that indeed you made that will. Therefore, a will, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just touch on the aspect that it has to be in writing. A colleague will come further later to explain to you the further requirements of what a will is. I don't want to delve much into that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've mentioned that a person can make a provision as to who is supposed to be the executor of the estate. Maybe someone is wondering, what is an executor? An executor is a person who has to make it a point that your estate is accordingly reported and divided accordingly as per your wishes. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I'll now move to what is the importance of a will. I think my definition of what a will is straightforward. You can't explain it more than I've just done now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very important to have a will. I know many people, more especially people of our age, they think that death is for the old, and they don't see the importance of making a will. A person is thinking that, okay, whereas he does have that gold 7 and a couple of few properties, and then the person thinks that, okay, I'm not going to die anytime soon, then I'll make the will when I turn 58, because then death would be nearer. Whereas, guys, we are the ones who are living reckless lives. We are driving recklessly on the roads and everything. Therefore, everyone needs a will. Once you have property, you need a will. I'll further elaborate on what are the benefits or the importance of having a will. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were to pass on right now without a will, you've got property, you've got assets, you are not going to be able to establish a trust which will hold the assets and cash on behalf of minor children. Those are children below the age of 18. You are not going to be able to establish that trust for them, so as to ensure that you safeguard their estate or their inheritance or legacies. So what may end up happening is that the cash may end up going to what we call a guardian fund, where it's going to be kept there until the minors until such time as the minors become majors, ladies and gentlemen. You can not further be able to nominate a guardian. Suppose you are the only parent surviving currently, so the other parent has already passed on, or you pass on at the same time. You are not going to be able to elect, to nominate a guardian for the children. You are not going to be able to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, a will is a deceased person's last words. Whatever you want to say, you may say it on the last, in a will. It's your last words. Ladies and gentlemen, further, you cannot, without a will, bequeath asset to any charity of your choice. You cannot bequeath assets to any charity of your choice. If perhaps there is a charity organization that you would like to leave some assets to, you are not going to be able to do so if you have not written a will. So if there is a charity organization that you would like to bequeath asset to, please make a will and make that provision. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not have control of who inherits if you don't have a will. You do not have control of who inherits, because the estate will dissolve or be distributed in terms of the Intestate Succession Act. You don't have control. If there is a child you don't like, then the child will get the share. If there is a spouse that you are you've separated with, but you did not divorce per se, the spouse will inherit. If you don't have a will, and you furthermore you made matters worse by not divorcing the said spouse. So, ladies and gentlemen, a will comes in very handy, and you don't need, I repeat, you don't need to have 5 million worth of assets and cash in order for you to have a will. The moment you start accumulating assets in your life, and then you must then make it a point that you draw up a will. Ladies and gentlemen, if further you have assets, offshore assets, which these, by that offshore assets are assets which are located outside your country of residence, you are not going to be able to distribute those assets without a valid will, ladies and gentlemen. So you need a will. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot prevent, this one is the major one, you cannot prevent the breakout of family feuds. What happens most of the time is that when a person passes on, you find that family members are now fighting over the estate of the person. The siblings are fighting over maybe the wife whom was married maybe perhaps in the civil, in terms of civil marriage, and then the parents were not aware of that because the two couples just went to home affairs and it did their stuff. Now, to avoid all those problems, wherein your family end up bullying your wife and taking everything, and then your wife has to undergo the lengthy process of fighting back to get their stuff in a court of law. Just avoid all of that by drawing up a will. It's a simple action, ladies and gentlemen, to avoid the lengthy processes of trying to get things back to the rightful person. So, ladies and gentlemen, you do need a will. Quite some time, ladies and gentlemen, it is the black community which thinks that they can just decide, okay, there's those primogeniture clauses that maybe the firstborn son is going to inherit and stuff like that. You should not die without a will and then saying that the man, as we all know in terms of our tradition, the firstborn son is the one, or the lastborn, whoever it is the one who's supposed to inherit. Ladies and gentlemen, it does not work like that. Like that. Our law does not function like that. There's going to be feuds, there's going to be everything once you leave without having made a valid will. Ladies and gentlemen, making a valid will comes with so many importances. And as I've already alluded, sitting down under the tree or in a dining room with your parents, your whoever, your descendants, and telling them that you are entitled to that Golf 7, and then the other one you are going to get that Ford Focus. It's cars, yes, but the one whom you give the Ford Focus may be wanting the Golf 7. So it's not similar assets. There may be a feud. When you leave, the other one may go and argue that no, it's not like that. That's not what he said, and you are not there to argue that those were my words. You are not there. You can give them stuff which are slightly similar, but still the other may not be satisfied with what they got, because the Golf 7 makes that sound better than the other. So there's always going to be feuds. There's always going to be feuds unless you leave a will. There's always going to be that. You can't say, I'm going to bequeath to you this ox and then the other one this fool. These people will be fighting, although perhaps maybe the values of those things may be slightly similar. They will be fighting over. The one will be saying, but that's an ox. Why was I given an ox and not a bull? What am I going to do with an ox? So it is very much important that one must draw up a will and avoid all those feuds and bad blood. You must avoid leaving bad blood amongst your kids or your descendants when you leave. You must make it a point that you pave the way for them. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe one is asking what is meant by a codicil. When I started defining in terms of the Wills Act, I mentioned that the Wills Act defines a will as including a codicil. After then you have that will, maybe you want to make some amendments. A codicil is an annexure wherein you amend, maybe you add something or you remove something on the will. However, I don't want to delve much into that for today. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I want to say, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I'd like to say that not having a will can make the process of distributing assets longer. There's going to be family feuds, there's going to be disagreements as to who gets what, and all those things will end up going to court and all those things. However, if you had just made a will, made provision for the executor of the estate, you've just cut the process short. The family no longer needs to wait some time before they appoint an executor, or the next of kin appoints an executor. It's just straight to the point. There is a will, then there's an executor, and then the process moves. You don't have a will, an executor will still have to be appointed, and before the estate can accordingly be dissolved. And then this thing is going to be longer than this other process. Where there is a will, ladies and gentlemen, the process is always shorter. The process is most likely to be shorter, unless, of course, there are other people coming to challenge the will. Maybe there is an estranged son of your father saying, no, but why was I excluded? Perhaps he did not know about me, and I'm also I want to get a part there. All those tactics that people can try. However, if you've done a will, ladies and gentlemen, you've avoided quite a number of problems, quite a number of disputes. You've avoided dead blood amongst your children, your descendants, and in some instances, your family. Because our families, they go, and our siblings more especially, they go and contest that, yeah, my brother had bought this, and this is my brother's property, I'm supposed to get it. And you find that quite some time we'll receive people coming here saying that the family has taken everything, they even locked the house, I cannot access it, and they are alleging that the marriage was somewhat not lawful, they know nothing about me and stuff like that. But to avoid quite a number of issues, a number of problems, all those disputes regarding those matters that arise when a person leaves, let us just make it a point that, ladies and gentlemen, we draw up wills. I'd like to, in closing, encourage the youth more especially to take part and make in the Wills Week in September, and make a point that they draw up their wills, they make their wills. Once you have property, guys, you know that you need a will. It doesn't. You don't need to wait until it's a property worth of 5 million rands. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be it for today. And thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for sparing the few moments of your time to listen to this explanation. Kindly catch up with the next, my colleague, on next week Wednesday. Next week Wednesday, my colleague Miss Hopuchuli Bebe, who's going to take you through, explain to you what happens to you or to your estate when you die with and without a will. The processes are quite different, ladies and gentlemen. So she will take you through as to what happens, how is the estate dissolved when the person has a will, and how is it dissolved if the person does not have a will. Ladies and gentlemen, because they had, in terms of the program that we are going to be running by, there is a question session on the last week, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to be taking any for today. Just note down your question in case you have one, and then follow the broadcast, follow the lives every Wednesday until on the last Wednesday, wherein a colleague will take all the questions. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.